Brother, all men are at war. Some embrace it, most run from it, but few are called to it. They decide to look the enemy in the face and fight for the things that they want. They decide that no matter what happens, they are going to persist until there is nothing left for them to resist. They do it because they've seen what happens when you don't. They've seen the enemy move in and slowly steal a man's dream away from them, and then watch them walk around without that spark in their eye anymore. And you can see exactly what I mean anytime you look out a window, because the greatest war any man will face is never external. You don't have to go to Iraq or Afghanistan to see it, because it happens right in their own mind. And this is because when God created the world, He created it with His words, and He created us in His image. Which means the thoughts we think, the words we speak, create the reality that we see. And if you read the Bible in Luke, it says that the kingdom of heaven is within inside of us, which is really cool whenever you first start reading it. And then you look into basic principles around how the world works. And you realize that for every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction. Which means just as well as we can use our words to create a heaven on earth, we can use those same words to make our life a living hell. And this is the battle that most men face, and they don't even know they're going through it. I know for a long time I didn't. Back when I was playing football, I would think the biggest enemy I had was the person on the other side of the field, but 99% of the times it was the thoughts that I was telling myself. And recently, I was journaling about this topic. And the reason why I started to think about this is because every morning I do my align and design process, which is the thing that I give to every single one of my clients, but essentially it aligns you with the version of you that you want to become, and then forces you to design your day to move you closer to becoming that person. And in that process, I look at the entire timeline of my life, from the good to the bad and everything in between. And one of the first pictures I see is a picture of a young version of me, smiling at the camera. I think my family and I went to SeaWorld or something. And every time I looked at it, I was getting emotional, and that normally doesn't happen. It happened for like a good week, where every time I would look at that younger picture of me, I would get emotional, and a flash of some old memory would pop into my head. And so after this went on for a week, I decided to really do a deep dive and figure out why this was going on. And I journaled about all of the experiences that were popping up, from me playing sports, being in college, like within my career, different things like that. Like I said, some good, some bad. And as I continued to journal, I wanted to see what my mindset was like every single time I went into those experiences that were continuously popping up. And every time I had a bad outcome, my mind was always set on the thing that I did not want to happen, then the thing I was most afraid of having to realize. And every time I had a positive outcome, my mind was set on the things that I wanted, on being able to help the people around me, on love, on just enjoying this experience of life. And as I continued to journal and as I continued to journal, this pattern continuously popped up time and time again. And so a question I ask myself all the time is, who am I? And so at the end of this exercise, I wrote, who am I? And the honest answer that popped into my head was, whoever I say I am. And if you do a similar exercise, I'm sure you can say the same thing. Because depending on the thoughts that you have, depending on the things that you focus on, it will dictate the things that show up within your reality. And so, one of the biggest lessons that I took away from this was that, yes, we have both the kingdom of heaven and hell within inside of us, but each and every single one of them has a weapon that you can use to be able to pull you in whatever direction you want to go in. Because this battle, this war, is something that happens each and every single day. Whenever you first wake up in the morning and you want to stay in bed, whenever you go to the gym and you don't want to be there, but you continue to push through, whenever you show up for work and you have to put your all in to being able to create this reality that you want. Each and every single moment you are fighting for which one of these two are going to be most apparent within your life. And the weapon that hell uses to be able to keep you in a living hell, or to pull you away from the reality that you know you can create, or the one that you see when you close your eyes, the ones that you know you are capable of, is fear. And it'll show up in 100 different ways, but every single time it will come back to fear, because it knows that if you are scared, you will never push yourself to break past the limiting beliefs that are keeping you exactly where you're at now. And that will stop you from making the impact that God put you on this earth to make. And the weapon that heaven uses is love. And for a very long time, that was something that I never allowed myself to feel. It was just something that I didn't really pay attention to. But every single time I allow myself to be vulnerable enough to feel that emotion, to express love for myself, for the people around me, the people I want to help, for the things I do, the things I enjoy. It's like the more natural the accomplishment of me achieving whatever it is I'm going after at that time is. And so that resistance that you feel, that war, it's not won by doing more work all the time and like focusing on tactics and trying to solve it externally. It's by seeking within yourself and allowing yourself to love. Because if you really were honest with yourself and you have all of these big goals, and you ask yourself, do you think it's possible to achieve what I want to achieve? Most people would say, yeah, of course it is. Like, I see it all the time. People have it, which means I wouldn't be the first person. But if you ask yourself if you believe that you can have it, that answer most likely will change. I know for a very long time, it did for me. And that's because I didn't believe I was someone who was worthy of having those things. Because I didn't allow myself to fall in love with the person that I have become. And so I always was obsessed with the idea of me having to become this version of me before I can feel this emotion. And it's like being able to be vulnerable enough to look at each and every single experience that you have gone through and realize that it has created you into the version of you are today, and loving yourself for the trials and tribulations, the achievements and everything, the bad, the ugly, and still allowing yourself to believe in yourself, to have faith in the fact that you are somebody who can achieve the things that you say you want. Having love and being vulnerable enough to express it and show it and sit with it is a thing that will allow you to break past that next level, because that resistance you feel, it's that fear that is rising up with inside of you that you might not be able to achieve the thing. But like having love for yourself and the person that you have become, that's the key to this whole thing, is learning how to love yourself as you become the person that you want to be, and not postponing it until you get to the end of the journey, because you're going to have to face that battle anyways. Yeah, that's the video for today. If you have any questions or just want to talk about any of this stuff, I'll leave my Instagram down below. Feel free to reach out to me there, and I will see you in the next one.